Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuhu. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about digestion. Before we dive into digestion and how it occurs in our body, let's quickly go over the definition of digestion. Digestion refers to the breakdown of food into smaller components that can be absorbed into the bloodstream. So digestion is the process by which our body breaks down the food that we eat into smaller parts that can be absorbed into our blood. So digestion has three phases. The first phase occurs in the mouth, the second phase occurs in the stomach, and the third phase occurs in the small intestines. So let's start with carbohydrates. The digestion of the carbohydrates starts in our mouth, and first, chewing. When we chew our food gets broken down into smaller particles and gets converted into a ball-like structure called bolus, which then passes on into the esophagus. And apart from the physical breakdown of food in our mouth, the saliva acts on the carbohydrates present in the food and converts them into smaller components. The salivary amylase present in the saliva initiates the process of breakdown of starches into maltoses. Now coming to the second phase of digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. The food that we eat reaches stomach as the bolus, and the bolus is further broken down in the stomach by the churning movements of our stomach. And turns the food into a substance called chyme. Then the substance move on to the third phase of digestion in the small intestines in the presence of different intestinal juices and digestive enzymes coming from the pancreas and liver, and the pancreatic amylase present, and the other intestinal juices that contain the enzymes such as lactase, maltase. All of these act on the starches present in the food and convert them into glucose, which is the form of carbohydrates that our body absorbs. So this was in short the digestion of carbohydrates. Now let's move on to the digestion of proteins. Apart from the physical breakdown of proteins in our mouth, there's no other action that takes place in our mouth. That's because of the absence of proteolytic enzymes that break down the proteins into smaller components. So the chemical digestion of proteins only begins when it reaches the stomach. In the stomach, there are proteolytic enzymes that come along with the gastric juices, which initiates the process of chemical breakdown of proteins into peptones and peptides. And as the food leaves the stomach in the form of chyme and enters the small intestines, the proteolytic enzymes present in small intestines further break down the peptones and peptides formed in the stomach into amino acids, which are absorbable in our body. Now let's look at the digestion of lipids, fats in our body. Just like the proteins, there's no chemical digestion of fats in the mouth because of the absence of such enzymes. And in the second phase of digestion of fats, as the food reaches the stomach and gets converted into chyme, there is minimal action on fats. That is because the main digestion of fats occurs in the third phase, that is in the small intestines. When the chyme enters into the small intestines, the digestive enzymes coming from the pancreas and liver help in the breakdown of fats into fatty acids and cholesterol, which is the form in which our body absorbs these fats. The two main substances that help in the digestion of fats are an enzyme called lipase and the bile juice. The bile juice secreted by liver helps in the emulsification of fats and breaking down of the fats. So this was in short how the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are digested in our body. Now what's left is the absorption. As the food progresses in the small intestines and reaches the latter part of the intestines, the absorption of food starts. And there's two main ways how the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are absorbed into our bloodstream. The first one is the passive diffusion. For example, if you have a lot of glucose present in your small intestine, then passive diffusion occurs. And the second is active transport. And an example for this would be if you have a little amount of glucose present in your small intestines, then there's an active transport method which is done by the carrier proteins. Let's stop right here for this video. And if you want to learn more about the gut bacteria present in the large intestines, then I'd recommend you go watch our video on probiotics. That's it guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more, Jazakumullah khairan for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.